Good morning and welcome to public celebration of Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. Program will commence with some Vedic chanting by the Sri Sarada Nuns. We'll have a talk and PowerPoint presentation by Dr. Shanker Karunanithi on why, how, and what are Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. That'll be followed by live music by the Banerjee family. And then we'll have a talk by Gayatriprana on Sri Ramakrishna, the lover of humanity. And then, of course, you're all invited to stay back and have some lunch. So I'll invite the nuns now to do the Vedic chanting.
We will be doing the Purusha Suktam, which comes from the Rig Veda. And it explains how the whole manifested universe is projected from that supreme entity, Brahman. And this comes in all the Upanishads, in all the Vedas. So that shows, with some slight variation, that shows how important this suktam is. Om Tacham Yoravrinemahe Gatum Yajnaya Gatum Yajnapataye Daivi Swastirastunaha Swastirmanushabhyaha Urdhvam Jigatu Bheshajam Shamno Astu Dvipade Sham Chatushpade Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We pray and worship the Supreme for the welfare of all. May all miseries and shortcomings leave us forever, so that we may always sing in the sacrifices and for the Lord of sacrifice, it's Vishnu. May the medicinal herbs grow in potency, so that diseases may be cured effectively. May the gods rain peace on us. May the human beings be happy. May all other beings also be happy. May peace, physical, mental, and spiritual, be on us forever. Om Sahasrashirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyadishtadashangulam. The Supreme Person exists enveloping the whole manifest universe, cognizing through every mind, seeing through every eye, and working through every limb. Nay, he exists transcending the universe. Purusha evedagum sarvam yadbhutam yaccha bhavyam udamritatvaseshanaha yadannena tirohati. Essentially, the whole universe is he himself. Whatever was, whatever is, and whatever will be, all are his manifestation. It is he who confers on all immortality, by which alone they live. Yetavanasya mahima ato jaya gumscha purushaha padosya vishwa bhutani tripadasya divi. The whole manifest universe is his splendor. He, the Supreme Person, transcends it very much. By a part, literally 1/4, of his splendor, he supports the universe eternally, during past, present, and future, whereas the major part of his splendor, embodying immortality, is beyond the range of the manifest universe. Tripadurtha udait purushaha Padosyeha bhavat punaha Tato Vishwam Vyakramat Sashana Nashane Abhi. This Supreme Person is outside the range of samsara, of birth and death. Only a part of his has become the whole universe. From this manifest part, the sentient kingdom has sprung, consisting of both the living and non-living beings. Tasmad virada jayata virajo adhipurushaha sajato atyarichyata paschad bhumi madho puraha. From him has emerged the cosmos, and out of this cosmos, which is technically called Virat, making it the basis as it were, the cosmic person, the first creator, came into being. The firstborn being gradually grew. He created first this earth and then the various bodies, both divine and demoniac. Yat purushena havisha deva yajnamatanvata vasando asya sidajyam grishma idma sharadhavihi. Then the devas performed a sacrifice. Since there existed nothing save that person, he himself was a sacrificial offering. The spring season became the ghee, the summer became the faggots, and the autumn became the rice offering. Saptasyasan paridhayaha trisaptas samidhat kritaha devayat yajñam tanvanaha abadhnan purusham pashum. In this sacrifice, the 7 Vedic meters represented the 7 boundaries, the 21 ingredients, 12 months, 5 seasons, 3 worlds, and the sun formed the sacrificial faggots. And the sacrificers considered the Supreme Person as the animal to be tied to the post. Tam yajñam barhishi praukshan purusham jatamagratah tena deva ayajanda sadhyarishayaschaye. This Supreme Person, the firstborn being, who became the sacrificial offering, was purified by the sprinkling of water and uttering of mantras. Thus was performed the first sacrifice by the Devas and the Rishis. Tasmad yajñat sarvahutaha samvritam vrishadajyam pashugum stagum chakre vayavyan aranyan gramyam shchaye. From this sacrifice, in which was invoked the all-inclusive Supreme Person, ghee mixed with curds was procured, as also many animals, both wild and domestic, having the wind god as the presiding deity. Tasmad yajñat sarvahutaha rijasamani jajnire chandagumsi jajnire tasmad yajustasmadajayata. And as an offshoot of this sacrifice, in which was invoked the all-inclusive Supreme Person, came out the Rik mantras, the Yajur mantras, the Sama mantras, and the various Vedic meters like the Gayatri. Tasmadashva ajayanda ekecho bhayadataha gavo hajajnire tasmad tasmad jata ajavayaha. From this sacrifice again have sprung the horse having 1 row of teeth and other animals having 2 rows of teeth, different varieties of cows, goats, and ewes. Yat purusham vyadadhuhu katidha vyakalpayan mukham kimasya kau bahu kavurupada uchyete. And one cannot imagine how much thought went before the projection of human beings. Which of the limbs of the Supreme Person would represent which section of man? What would be his head, the 2 hands, the two thighs and the 2 feet. Brahmanosya mukhamasit bahurajanyakritah uru tadasya yadvaishyah padbhyagum shudro ajayata. At last, after long meditation, it was concluded that the Brahmana would represent the head or the power of thought and discrimination or the Supreme Person. The Kshatriya would represent the arms or the power of protection and preservation or the Supreme Person. The Vaishya would represent the thighs or the power of acquisition and distribution or Supreme Person. And the Shudra would represent the feet or the power of support and movement of the Supreme Person. Chandrama manaso jataha chaksho suryo ajayata mukhadindrashchagnischa pranadvayurajayata. Then from the Supreme Person was born the various luminous beings and bodies and the different worlds. The moon from his mind, the sun from his eye, the fire and Indra from his mouth, and the wind god from his breath. Nabhya asidandhariksham sheshnodhyau samavartata padbhyam bhumirdishashrotrat tatha lokagum akalpayan. The space emerged from his navel, the worlds of gods or heaven from his head, the earth from his feet, and the different quarters from his ears. This was the way in which world projection was effected. Vedahametam purusham mahantam adityavarnam tamasastu pare sarvani rupani vichitya dhiraha namani krutva bhivadan yadaste. I have known the supreme and magnanimous person who sacrificed himself for the welfare of this universe, of the sun's hue, and beyond all ignorance. He, the wise one, molded out of himself by his Maya the various forms and called them by different names. Dhata purastadyamuda jahara shakra pravidvan pradishaschatasraha tamevam vidvan amrita iha bhavati nanya pantha ayanaya vidyate. The first creator, Brahma, knew the Supreme Person. He, in turn, made him known to Shakra, that's Indra, king of gods, for the benefit of all beings. Hence, even today, he who knows him and the creation thus as presented above, as pervaded and permeated and possessed by the Supreme Person, verily attains immortality. There is no other way for spiritual perfection. Yajnena yajnamayanda devaha tani dharmani pradhamanyasan tehanakam mahimanas sachande yatra purve sadhya santi devaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. The Devas mentally performed the first sacrifice by consecrating the cosmic body of God itself. This sacrifice, or renunciation of selfishness and all one's possessions, has become the basis of all religions. He who bases his life on sacrifice or renunciation verily reaches the highest abode of God, where all the perfected aspirants repair. Om, peace, peace, peace.
Inviting now Dr. Shanker Karunanithi to come up and give his talk and PowerPoint presentation.
Hey, good morning, Mataji's devotees and friends. I like to thank Gayatriprana for inviting me to deliver this talk to honor Sri Ramakrishna on his birthday. And I'm sincerely grateful for this invitation. And I also want to start off by saying that the information that I'll be providing to you is understanding of my teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, and it's also from my perspective. Now, 3 years ago, I left academia to start a company to develop medicines to combat heat stress so we can beat the heat that arises from global warming or extreme heat events. Now, in order to make this transition, I had to do a bridging course, and this bridging course significantly influenced me in a number of ways. And the reason for that is that it told me to develop a successful company, you need to have a strong and clear sense of purpose. Now, companies are developed to solve problems. Say, for example, you were traveling 20 kilometers to buy your groceries, and then somebody builds a grocery store just 2 kilometers away. What they do is they've solved the problem of distance of time that's traveled. So successful companies have a strong and clear sense of purpose. And it's that purpose that I relate to in the title of my talk, the why, that is the purpose. Now, if there's any institutions out there that are solely devoted to helping people find their purpose, it's religious and spiritual organizations. So the why of Sri Ramakrishna is very strong and clear. That's why it's helped millions of people around the world for over a century. And today, I'm going to be expanding on this concept of why. And so I'm going to start with why. In fact, Start with Why is the title of a fairly influential business book by Simon Sinek. And the whole idea is to help people to find their purpose, or when they build businesses, find purposes for their business. And that's why we were introduced to it in our commercialization course, which influenced me. Now, the gist of this book is that the results that are produced by the actions, if they are firmly embedded on a strong and clear purpose, it would not only be meaningful to you, it would also provide success. Now, if you look at the diagram on the right, we have not only the concept of the why, which is the purpose, but we also have two other concepts, the how and the what. The how represents the process, and the what represents the results or the product. And so these are interlinked by this diagram, which they call the golden circle. And as you can see, the why, the purpose is at the core of this circle. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually let the author himself, Simon Sinek, describe to you this nice diagram. So I'll get Robert to play that video for you.
Probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. By why, I mean, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? And why should anyone care? The inspired leaders and the inspired organizations all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this: we make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Nah. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? People don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe. If you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears.
Well, thank
Something
you. Hey, problems with PowerPoint, what's new? So the take-home message from that video is that you need to start from a why to get to a what. So in this slide here, you can see the why, how, and the what of Apple. Now, what's the why, how, and what of religions? So in order to answer that question, I turn to this very famous quote by Swami Vivekananda. Let me read that to you. It says, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. Beautiful quote. So where is the why, how, and what in this? It's what I think is shown by the magenta here. And so the why, the purpose, is that each soul is potentially divine. The how is through you manifest that divinity through work or worship, psychic control or philosophy, and the result or the product is to manifest the divinity within. So, and you can easily think of sometimes why, how, and what as purpose, process, and products, the 3 P, if it makes more sense to you. So let's start with a why. Let's, the potential divinity. Now, the goal of life, they say, is to manifest the divinity within us. If that's the case, then you have to make the assumption that we are potentially divine. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It's like saying, I want to be good. You can't be good unless you believe that you have potential to be good, right? So that makes sense to us. So, and you might ask the question, well, what's the use of manifesting divinity, this divinity within? What's the use of all of this? Well, I argue from my understanding of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings is that it helps you pave the way for obtaining true joy and happiness. And let me expand on that in the next slide. So all living beings on this planet run away from pain towards pleasure, okay? So that's ourselves, our pets, even our plants. We are always, how do you call it? Avoiding pain and running towards pleasure, okay? So these are two, and this is part of everyday life. Say, for example, when it's really hot outside, you run to the shade, okay? And if you had a hard days of work, what you would do is go home, relax by watching a bit of TV or having a drink, okay, seeking some pleasure. So these are things that we do. So pleasure seeking is something that's inevitable. So interestingly enough, it's just this normal people who look for these things. It's even ascetics as well. So but it's not the cheap external forms, but it's the highly refined internal forms that bring you long-lasting, indescribable sense of joy that takes lifetimes to achieve. And let me, so what this tells us is that there are different grades of happiness out there. So let me illustrate that with this Chinese proverb that was published in our newsletter a couple of months back. So it goes, if you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a month, get married. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help somebody else. And if you want eternal happiness, know yourself. And it's the last of those forms of happiness that I referred to in this quote by Sri Ramakrishna. It says, why should one be restless for God? Because the joy of realizing him is 1,000,000 times greater than any earthly happiness. I think that's the whole gist of this thing. And when they talk about knowing yourself in depth, it's like a pathway towards manifesting this divinity. But when we talk about eternal happiness or obtaining it, why is it so hard? We talk a lot about it. That's why we're all here. Why is it so hard? Because something stands in the way. And what stands in the way is what we call a false identification. And this, okay, and this, that was a false slide. False identification. What that essentially means is that we see the body and mind as being separate from the spirit. And as of consequence, Sri Ramakrishna says it leads to suffering, ignorance, and pain. But it's only true identification that produces indescribable levels of joy that result in peace, contentment, knowledge, and liberation. So true identification is when the body and mind is united with the spirit. Let me illustrate that, for example, with a practical illustration. Say, for example, one that's trying to promote the idea that pain and suffering comes about if one is ignorant of a significant dimension in one's life. Say, for example, someone was adopted as a baby and they didn't get to know that they were adopted until they were an adult. This person, I'm sure you would imagine, would be fairly restless, unhappy, until they found out who their true parents, biological parents were, and the reasons for that adoption. And once they do find out, they'll get a sense of peace about this. So what this is telling us is that once we have some knowledge of a dimension that was initially we were unaware of, we obtain some peace. So similarly with us, when we get to know about our spiritual dimensions, we will also obtain a sense of peace. So that's what I'm trying to promote, that idea. So up to this point, we've heard about our potential divinity. So the next point, you have to forward. How do we manifest this divinity? That's the point. That's what the how is. So according to Sri Ramakrishna, simply it's hard. As he says in this quote, spiritual progress is like ascending a steep hill. You must take one step at a time with great effort and patience. Like people know, if you want to make $1 million in the material world, it takes a lot of work, doesn't it? And a lot of perseverance, and you really need to want to have it. Similarly, if you want spiritual wealth, it takes a lot of hard work, and you really need to want to have it. So the spiritual path is difficult. Let me illustrate this with a simple story that was told to me by Swami Sarvadevananda. He is the head of the mission at Hollywood in Los Angeles. And when I was there, he told me the story and I still remember it. And it goes that once this man found this gold nugget, and he took this gold nugget to the goldsmith. And the goldsmith took this nugget and dipped it in very strong detergent. Then he took it out and he put it in a furnace and melted it. Then he took it out of the furnace, then he put it in cold water and then solidified it again. Then he took this hammer and beat it to senseless. And then finally, what he did was that he took a grinder and he started to cut into it and polish it. And you can imagine this poor gold nugget is screaming his pain. Ouch, ouch, what's going on? But you know what? Out of this pain and suffering, it got turned into a beautiful ring. So, so that's the same with us when we are on the spiritual path. It's hard, it's painful, but we end up being beautiful and dazzling, because our character reflects our potential divinity, which then radiates a sense of joy and also is able to attract joy. So that was one of the reasons for this. Now, you might ask yourselves, okay, that's very good. And we have all these different pathways towards becoming spiritual. You can do this through work, worship, psychic control, philosophy, various religions. Any path that you take that helps you become more spiritual is good. But what is it really doing? Well, according to this figure, as you practice more and more and you get good at it, what the whole idea of all of these methods is that it tries to unite the body and mind complex with the spirit. And the more you do it, the more united it becomes, until it gets to become unity itself, where you have the body, mind, and spirit. And one of the advantages is that as you progress, as you move forward, you're open to greater levels of happiness. And you can see by the broadening of this arrow, it indicates as you go down towards the unity, you become happier and happier. And the happiness that you get is long lasting. And Sri Ramakrishna, most of his life, or virtually all of his life, he rested on that yellow level. Okay, he had low, high level forms and bliss and those between, and he wanted us to experience that too. So there's a potential divinity. We know how to manifest this divinity. If it's manifested, what does it look like? What do these people, what are they like? Well, we have some great examples. We have Jesus Christ on that side. We have Buddha, and then we have Ramakrishna, who have manifested this divinity. Now, one of the things that comes up, okay, is when you talk to people and you talk about these divine incarnations, we're always wondering, what do they look like? You know, what's their physical appearance? That's something that's very common to understand. These two quotes by Swami Vivekananda's brother and Akshay Kumar Sen tend to indicate that they're not very different to anybody else. According to Mahendranath Datta, he doesn't look very different to anybody else. He's like an average Joe, you know? And then according to Akshay Kumar Sen, he says that it's very difficult to detect God in man or God in human form. And in last week's lecture by Gayatriprana, she talked about God in human form. What she says is that if they're in human form, they're bound by human laws and behaviors. So it's very hard to be able to detect them. And the question is, if Sri Ramakrishna lived in this day and age, what would he look like? So with the help of my nephew, Joshua, we photoshopped this image to say, well, if he was here, what would he look like? He might walk on wearing a t-shirt. He'll walk down the street. Do you think you would detect him as a divine incarnation? Would you give him a second look? I probably think no. Okay. So on a physical level, if you see him, he may not look any different. But but as Akshay Kumar Sen says, that if he only reveals themselves to those who are ready, and for example, his niece, Lakshmi Devi, you can see here, she describes that when he was in Samadhi, he was beautiful and he had a halo around him. Okay? So that's about his physical appearance. Now, what's it like to be with him? So to give you a description of what it's like when Sri Ramakrishna is in his divine moods, I've got this description by Manomohan Mitra, who was one of his devotees, and I'll read it to you because I think it'll give you the message and it's moving. So here it goes. Ramchandra Datta began the kirtan, which is devotional singing, with a song. Hearing this song, Sri Ramakrishna joined the kirtan. He was in an ecstasy of love. He began to dance vigorously and rhythmically. Tears rolled down his cheeks and he lost outer consciousness off and on. Encircling him, we also began to dance and sing, forgetting our surroundings. The glorious sounds of the Lord's name reverberated all around, and our inspiration increased thousandfold. Some of us began to dance, raising both our hands. Some of us began to clap. Some began to jump. Some, out of exuberant emotion, fell on the ground. Some, out of joy, began to laugh heartily and embrace each other. Some began to cry loudly, and then they also began to laugh. We have never seen such a scene in our lives. We were all overwhelmed with a current of divine bliss. After the kirtan ended, the master was then in a deep samadhi, seated like a lifeless wooden image, with his eyes fixed. His face was luminous and blissful. We sat there looking at him, at his wonderful face. Sri Ramakrishna's form on that day is still imprinted in my heart. Powerful. So, yes, so that's what it may have felt like. Then it comes to the idea of the joy of realization. What's God realization? What's that like? It's very hard to describe. But Sri Ramakrishna has this amusing parable regarding that. And I've tweaked it a little bit so it goes with this video. So it goes, a mute person was given delicious sweets. As she tasted it, she was filled with joy. But as she could not express how wonderful it was because she could not speak, she could only smile and gesture in bliss. So that's that. But the take-home message is that God realization is hard to express in words. It's an experience that's so profound it can only be felt and not described. And what Sri Ramakrishna also wanted us to be able to experience this joy of God realization, because God realization is the goal of human life. So now what I like to do finally is to finish off by reflecting on Sri Ramakrishna and his teachings of why, how, and what.
So now for the next item in our program, the Banerjee family very kindly going to provide a musical performance joined by others. I think Madhu Sen's there too. So give us a few minutes. It's going to take a few minutes to get set up and a bit of tuning. So bear with us. Testing.
Our most favorite Mataji Namaste and best wishes to everyone present here. We will be performing two devotional songs to begin with, and then there is just the recital on Raga Therapy, and I'll be accompanying on tabla. Devati will be presenting the devotional songs, and Surajit will be on the staff. So, with your permission, let's start. Thank you.
নয়নাভিরামমো নয়নাভিরামেশ্বরাম কৃষ্ণ মো নয়নাভিরামেশ যশোদা দুলাল তুমি রঘুপতি রাম এসো নয়নাভিরাম নয়নাভিরামেশ্বরাম কৃষ্ণ নয়নাভিরামেশ যশোদা দুলাল তুমি রঘুপতি রাম এসো নয়নাভিরাম নয়নাভিরামেশ দক্ষিণেশ্বরে তব লীলা কিবা মন প্রভু শ্যামা প্রভু সাজু শঙ্কর দক্ষিণেশ্বরে তব লীলা কিবা মন প্রভু শ্যামা প্রভু সাজু শঙ্কর শ্রীরাধার ভাবে প্রভু কাঁদে তব অন্তর ধুলায় বলো কোথা নব ঘন শ্যাম নয়নাভিরাম মোর নয়নাভিরামেশ্বরাম কৃষ্ণ মোর নয়নাভিরামেশ যশোদা দুলাল তুমি রঘুপতি রাম এসো নয়নাভিরাম মোর নয়নাভিরাম। পঞ্চবতীর তীরে জাহ্নবী কিনারায় যেচে প্রেম বিলাইছে ডাকে মোরে আয় আয়। পঞ্চবতীর তীরে জাহ্নবী কিনারায় যেচে প্রেম বিলাইছে ডাকে মোরে আয় আয়। ভকত কুসুম যত আনিল প্রসাদ নন্দন সুন্দর পারিজাত। ভকত কুসুম যত আনিল প্রসাদ নন্দন সুন্দর পারিজাত। সে কুসুমে ভরি সাজি আপনি পূজারি সাজি। সে কুসুমে ভরি সাজি আপনি পূজারি সাজি। করিলে আপন পূজা ধরি মুখে নিজ নাম নয়নাভিরাম মোর নয়নাভিরাম। রাম কৃষ্ণ মোর নয়নাভিরাম। যশোদা দুলাল তুমি রঘুপতি রাম এসো নয়নাভিরাম মোর নয়নাভিরাম। রামকৃষ্ণ নামে জোয়ার এলো রামকৃষ্ণ নামে জোয়ার এলো ভাসিয়ে দে না তোরি ভাব ভক্তি উথলে ওঠে আহা মোরি মুক্তি। রাম কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ ভাসিয়ে দে না তোরি ভাব ভক্তি উথলে ওঠে আহা মোরি মোরি। নামের হালটি ধর শক্ত করে যাও তোরি ঠাকুর গো। নামের হালটি ধর শক্ত করে যাও তোরি শেষে ভবের পার যাবে ভবের পার যাবে। রামকৃষ্ণ কান্ডারি ভাব ভক্তি ওঠে আহা মোরি মোরি। রাম কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ ভাসিয়ে দে না তোরি ভাব ভক্তি উথলে ওঠে আহা মোরি মোরি। তুমি ভয় পেও না মাঝি দূরে ঠাকুর গো ভয় পেও না মাঝে দুনিয়ায় যদি ঝাঁপাই, যদি বিষয় পানে ছুটে ভাব ভক্তি উঠে উঠে আমরি মরি রাম কৃষ্ণ জোয়ারে লো, কৃষ্ণ জোয়ারে লো, ভাসিয়ে দে না তোরি ভাব ভক্তি দিলে ওঠে মরি মরি ভাব ভক্তি দিলে ওঠে মরি মরি ভাব ভক্তি দিলে ওঠে মরি মরি।
So, so long as it's simple to be carried. Okay. Okay.
Invite Gayatriprana now to give her talk, and what a treat that was. Thank you so much for that performance and coming today. That was wonderful. Just added so much to this function. Thanks so much.
That was, first I should say thank you for Dr. Karunanithi for the wonderful talk. It was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. And for the beautiful offering to Sri Ramakrishna, the music performance. Sri Ramakrishna loved music. He used to sing, and he was very particular that the rhythm, the tune, everything should be in perfect order. If anything go out of order, he literally used to feel physical pain. So it was beautiful. Thank you so much for both of you. And Javarati, thank you so much. ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Establisher of righteousness, embodiment of all the religions of the world, the greatest incarnation the world has seen, O Ramakrishna, our salutation to you. Swami Vivekananda calls Sri Ramakrishna Avatara Varishta, the greatest incarnation. God incarnates in different ages, assuming a particular manifestation depending upon the need of that age. There are different, so many incarnations are there. All that, what form is taken and what the work done depends upon the need of that age and the society. About all the, Sri Ramakrishna himself speaks about the manifestation which is taken in his body, in that form. He says he had a vision in which he says this way: I saw that it is the fullest manifestation of Satchidananda. Fullest manifestation of Satchidananda. But this time, the divine power is manifested to the glory of Sattva. Unlike the previous incarnation that we usually speak of, Sri Rama, Sri Krishna, there's a lot of divine power manifested, show is there. Like we can see divinity. But in Sri Ramakrishna's case, it's pure Sattva, there is no show. As Dr. Karunanithi showed us, if Sri Ramakrishna walks along the road, nobody will recognize him. There's no show. Just like any other human being, any other villager, not even polished person. His appearance, his dress, his speech, completely village person. But this is the purest manifestation of purest Sattva. When Swamiji calls him the greatest incarnation, he is not belittling the earlier incarnations, not saying that they are less in greatness, but for the present age, he is the greatest one. Each age has its own need. The earlier incarnations that came, what they showed, the modern age, we won't be able to accept fully, easily, because we are, by nature, by temperament, we are skeptics. We question all the time, and we want proof. We ask for proof. Somebody says, oh, you just believe. No, we are not ready to believe, simply because you say we will believe. No way. What's the proof? We ask for proof. And Sri Ramakrishna in his life proved everything. What he said, he himself experienced, and then he gave us the teaching. He experienced divine God indirectly, in direct experience he had, and then he said, well, if you follow this phase, you can experience God. The first question that later Swami Vivekananda asked Sri Ramakrishna was, sir, have you seen God? And he could directly say, yes, I have seen. More clearly than I see you. In a clearer form, I see you. And not that just that I have seen, you won't be able to see. No, you also can see. If you follow these paths, you also can see. It's not a exclusive privilege of certain people. Everybody can attain God, realize God, if you follow those disciplines. And he followed different religions. And he realized that all of them lead to the same goal, God realization. Different paths, different forms. Worship may be in the form of different forms, but the goal is the same. It's just like going to one place, taking different routes. For example, you come to Vedanta Hall here, you may take different routes, different roads, but the goal is, the destination is same. You reach the same place. You cannot say, oh no, all of you should take the same road. No, you can't. And it is not possible. So Sri Ramakrishna, through his life, through his practices, showed that. And earlier incarnations haven't shown that. That's why Swamiji says, this incarnation is the greatest for this age. Avatara Varishta. Now, why do God, who is infinity, come to earth as a limited human being and go through all the pleasure and pain, misery and suffering experienced by ordinary people? If you look at Sri Ramakrishna, you can see towards the end, he suffered from throat cancer. Now, cancer is the most common disease, almost you can say common disease in the present age now. Everybody, almost every house or family have got somebody or other in their family or known to them suffering from cancer. Sri Ramakrishna was suffering from cancer. If he is God, why did he have to go through all that? And he had a broken arm. He fell down and broke his arm. And it had to be put in sling. And then when somebody said, Sri Ramakrishna is God taken a human form, and some other person who was not believing it came to Sri Ramakrishna and said, oh, your devotees are saying that you are God incarnate. I don't believe. Then Sri Ramakrishna, to suit that person's temperament, said, have you ever heard God falling down and breaking his hand? So how can they say all these things? But you don't have to believe. You don't have to believe. Let them believe what they like. You don't have to believe that. So why should God take a human form and suffer all these things? And we can see that again, not just suffering, misery, and they are misunderstood by people. They are rejected by people, persecuted, insulted, tortured. Why do you have to go through all these things? Because of the infinite love and compassion for suffering humanity. We can definitely say that's the case with Sri Ramakrishna. We all hear about the love of God, how the devotee loves God intensely, with great yearning, and then have some realization. But we don't hear much about God's love for humanity. Sri Ramakrishna says that. He says, if you take one step towards God, God will take 99 steps towards you. So that shows the extent of God's love for us. You take one step, you just make one movement towards God, and he will take 99 steps towards you. In Sri Ramakrishna's life, we see that he had intense love for God. When you read, those who have read the life know how he started his life as a priest in the Kali temple in Dakshineshwar. But unlike the ordinary priest, he had this question: is this just an image that I am worshipping, or is a living deity? Is divine worshipping the image of Mother Kali? Is she really present there, or I'm just worshipping a marble image? He wanted to know. And then he prayed, meditated days together. Every time, the moment he finishes work in the temple, the worship, all the work associated with the temple worship, he used to go to a secluded area and meditate and pray to Mother to reveal herself. And so intense was his desire to see God that after months and months of meditation, prayer, sleepless nights, nothing is happening. So he thought, what's the point of living like this? Another day has gone. Let me put an end to my life. And he took the sword hanging in the shrine of Mother Kali and was about to put an end to his life, cut his throat, when suddenly he had a wonderful vision and he fell down unconscious. He was blissed, he was enveloped in bliss. So that is the intensity he had. And with the same intensity, he worshipped the other forms of God, also other aspects, not just Mother Kali, all the other different aspects. But once this realization has come, his whole attention turned towards distributing this realization. With the same yearning he earned for the devotees, the yearning he had for God realization, it was turned towards distributing this realization. We see him yearning for the devotees to come to him, to give his realization. It's outside the temple. There is the proprietor's building where the proprietors used to come and live whenever they came to Kali temple. Climbing on the roof of terrace of that building in the evening, when the whole temple is resounding with the sound of the bells and conch, everything, he used to cry, "Oh, my children, where are you? I can't bear the pain. I can't live without you. Where are you? Please come. Come on, please." And he used to describe it as, he said, a mother never wept for her child with so much intensity, with so much yearning. I felt as though my heart was being wrung like a wet towel. So much of pain, so much of yearning to see the devotees. So first, the yearning was for realizing God. Then it was for distributing that realization to the whole world. Speaking about these two aspects, yearning for God and then yearning for the devotee, one writer here writes, Sri Ramakrishna combined in himself the supreme love of Chaitanya for God and the infinite compassion of Christ for suffering humanity. Both are combined in one person. The love of God, which Sri Chaitanya showed in his life, and the compassion of Jesus Christ, which he showed in his life. Both are combined in this life of Sri Ramakrishna. Swamiji, when he says, as in greater incarnation, and another time as young Narendra, he was talking to one of the other young disciples, Harinath, who later became Swami Turiyananda. He says Sri Ramakrishna is L-O-V-E personified. L-O-V-E personified. It's a personification of love. He made that statement from his personal experience, not just by seeing, from his personal experience. When Narendra came to Sri Ramakrishna's room in Dakshinesha, the room may be full of people, but he will be looking only at Narendra and talking to him. Narendra had to say, he used to feel embarrassed. He used to say, "Sir, please talk to other people. They are there." Then he will talk. But again, back to Narendra. Then when Narendra's father suddenly passed away, he was a very successful barrister in the Calcutta High Court, earning a lot of money. At the same time, he was so generous, charitable, that he spent more than he earned. So when suddenly father passed away, the family was in dire poverty. They were almost starving. Many days, there was nothing in the house. When Narendra found that there's not much enough food for the younger siblings, he was the eldest. He would tell his mother, "Oh, my friend has invited me for lunch or dinner, so please don't keep any food for me." Then he will go and drink some water from the roadside tap and spend the day like that. He literally knew what starvation is. And when one day, some talking to some visitors and in his room in Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna told, Narendra's father has passed away and the family is going through great difficulty. It will be good if some of you do help him a little way, in some way. Narendra kept quiet, and after the visitor left, he took him to task. So why did you say that? Why did you have to announce my poverty to everybody? And then Sri Ramakrishna said, oh Naren, don't you know that I would do anything for you? That for you, I would even go about begging from door to door. That is the love Sri Ramakrishna had for Narendra. And years later, Swami Vivekananda said, he made me his slave by his great love for me. This love that we see, is there any difference between Sri Ramakrishna's love for Narendra and other disciples and ordinary people's love? We all love our friends, our family. Is there any difference? Or just like our love, attachment? There's a big difference. Sri Ramakrishna loved them, seeing God in them. Once, seeing his love for Narendra, seeing Sri Ramakrishna's love for him, Narendra one day told, sir, see that you don't get into the fate, you don't get the fate of Jadabharata. That's a story in the Mahabharata. A king, as they used to do in olden times, as they grow old, the next prince was put on the throne, and the king retired to the forest to spend his time in spiritual practices. But then one day, as he had gone to the river to take bath, a deer full with baby was being chased by a lion, and the deer came running towards the river, jumped in the fear to escape from the lion, and fell in the water, gave birth to the baby, and then the mother died. The baby, the little fawn, was floating in the water. This king felt, or the hermit, we should say, felt sorry for it, picked it up, brought it to his hermitage, looked after it, cared for it. And then slowly, all the attention was on that deer. What's happening to it? Hope some lion or tiger is not coming to attack it. Instead of from God, his attention was turned towards this deer. And the story goes that the last moment of his life, his thought was fixed on the deer. And in the next life, he was born as a deer. So that then, of course, the deer, because as Sri Krishna says in the Gita, whatever you do is never lost. He had done spiritual practices, it was not lost. So he had the memory that because of this attachment, I was born as a deer. So in the deer body, he made sure that it's not get attached to anybody. And so he lived near the hermitage of some sage. And then in course of time, the deer body fell and back to human body. Again made sure not to get attached, so pretended as though a deaf and dumb person. That is Jadabharata. So Narendra was warning, sir, make sure you don't get to the fate of Jadabharata. And Sri Ramakrishna had such simple childlike nature, and he had his idea that Narendra will speak only truth. Narendra said this, so he got so worried. Straight away went to consolation proof. Whom to ask? Divine Mother is there. Went to Kali temple, and Narendra said this, and Mother consoled him. Don't worry, you love Narendra because you see God in him. So he was happy. Sri Ramakrishna came back and told Narendra, you frightened me, it made me worried. Mother said, I love you because I see God in you. The day I don't see the divine in you, I won't even be able to look at your face. Sri Ramakrishna saw the divine presence in all, and he loved everybody. Not just Narendra, all the people who came to him, they felt that Sri Ramakrishna loved them the best. And later you can see when the young disciples were living together in the Varanagar monastery, sometimes they used to have the argument. One will say, the master loved me most. The other will say, no, he loved me most. And one of them, Latu Maharaj, later Swami Adbhutananda, used to say, the master did not give any property, and still you people are fighting. God knows what would happen if he had said some lump sum property. They are fighting, he's saying that he loved me most, because everyone felt that I was the most, the dearest one to the master. And he loved them because he saw the divine in everybody. As we heard Shanker saying, each soul is potentially divine. The potentiality is there. And it is that divine that we love, not the human frame. As Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, the husband is loved not for the sake of the husband, but for the sake of the Supreme Self. The wife is loved not for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the Supreme Self. The human love is only an expression of God's love. We see different forms externally. We are like different beings, different people. The difference is only skin deep. Skin color is different, eye color is different, hair is different, language is different. But once you remove the skin, the same inside. Flesh, blood, bone, marrow, everything is the same in everybody. And the same if you look at the mind, the same emotions, anger, hatred, love, attachment, prejudices, biases, common into everybody. But deep within, again you go deeper, the same divine in all. There's no difference. The same divine is present in all. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. Pillows. Pillowcases are different, but inside each pillow, the same cotton. We are all different, but inside the same divine is there. And it is that divine, the divinity within, that Sri Ramakrishna loved. And that love was not confined to his disciples or devotees. Without making any distinction of caste or creed, he loved all people that he came across. Men and women, young and old, rich and poor, scholars, ordinary folk, then the Brahmos, the Christians, the Muslims, Sikh, Hindus of various denominations, all were drawn to him. All were caught in the power of his attraction of his love. Nobody could stop that. There is one incident. Sri Ramakrishna was going by the horse carriage, and a contingent of 6 soldiers, because next to the Kali temple, there was a military barrack, and there were 6 soldiers used to be there. And as the contingent is marching along the road, and suddenly seeing this carriage coming, they stopped, dropped their guns, and saluted, bow down. The British commander who was leading the contingent was quite annoyed. How dare they do this? Against the military discipline? And they said, sorry, we can't do, we have to, he is our God man. We have to salute him. The 6 soldiers, they all considered him as one of the gurus. The Muslims considered him as one of their peers, fakirs. And there is one Muslim devotee, one Dr. Abdul Wajaj. He met him in 1885. He came with another friend and Ramchandra Datta. Because he was a doctor, he was known to Ramchandra Datta, a very great close devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. He came with him. And when Ram introduced, Sri Ramakrishna welcomed them. made them come to the room, spread a carpet for them. Those devotees sat on the carpet and spread another one for himself and sat. And this man thought, well, I heard that the Paramahamsa is a great soul, and still he has spread two carpets. And he is one separate for him and one for us because we are Muslims. He thought, that thought came to him. And Sri Ramakrishna was talking to them, and slowly, as during the conversation, he moved closer and closer and closer. In the end, ended up sitting on the same carpet. Then he realized, oh no, this is really a great soul who has realized the oneness of all. The same you can see is like towards the end, when Sri Ramakrishna was in Kosipu, towards the end of his life, suffering from cancer. One day, Sri Ramakrishna told the devotees who were in the room, I saw a monk in a vision wearing ochre cloth, but I don't know who it is. I have never seen him. And the devotees were saying, well, how can we know who it is? And after a short while, a person came wearing Western clothes and then asked for the Paramahamsa, see here, can we see him? Or then they brought him. And then he said, he is a Christian belonging to the Quaker. His name is Prabhudayal Mishra. He was a Quaker from Punjab, that area. And he had heard about Sri Ramakrishna. He had a vision in which he saw two people, great soul. He had the idea that these are really God, people who had realized God. He didn't know about incarnation. So he went looking, who are they? Where are they? He heard about Pahori Baba of Ghazipur. He went there. No, this is not the person whom I saw in the vision. He was disappointed. But then he saw a photograph hanging on the wall in Pahori Baba's cave. And on asking, realized, understood, that was told that that is Sri Ramakrishna. And that was one of the person he had seen in the vision. So where is it? I came to Dakshinesha, and no, he's not there, no longer in Dakshinesha, he's in Calcutta for treatment. So came to Calcutta to meet him. And then Prabhudayal Mishra said that he had renounced the world the day meant for the wedding of one of his brothers. Two brothers died. Some accident happened and two brothers died, and he renounced the world that day. And he had become a monk. And then he says, though I am a Christian, I follow the Hindu traditions. And he was wearing ochre cloth underneath his Western suit. And that's why the monk Sri Ramakrishna saw in vision. And the same thing, he had a vision of Jesus Christ from Sri Ramakrishna. So his love was for everybody. There's one more example of that. One day Sri Ramakrishna was going along the streets of Calcutta in a carriage, and in one junction corner, there was a mosque, and one fakir, he was praying, and with great earnestness he was praying, oh my beloved, please come. A real devotee was crying. And suddenly the carriage stopped, and Sri Ramakrishna got out of the carriage and ran to him, ran to the fakir and hugged him, embraced him. So wherever the devotee is calling, there he is coming running. And his love was not confined to devotees, pure souls. No, this fakir, the Prabhudayal Sharma, the Muslim doctor, they are all devotees. But his love was not confined to devotees, pure soul people. Whoever came to him was attracted by his sweet smile and gentle words. The fallen, the impure, the downtrodden, the weak, all were welcome into his room. All found solace in his love. There are several instances in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and the Great Master we can see. Just to give one or two incidents. M describes in the Gospel Bhagavati Dasi. She was an old maidservant of the proprietors, Mathur Babu's family. And we can say her life was not a very pure life. But then she had come to see Sri Ramakrishna that day. Sri Ramakrishna asked, "How are you? How is everything going on?" And seeing his kind words, hearing his kind words, she became a bit bold and came forward and touched his foot, as we do, offering our salutation by touching his feet. And Sri Ramakrishna jumped up as though stung by a scorpion, pain, and he washed his feet with Ganges water again and again, because an impure person touched him. He could not bear he could not eat. We see in the connected with Holy Mother, we have said that so many times. He could not eat the food touched by an impure person. One Holy Mother was taking the food and a lady asked, "Mother, let me take the food to the master." She just carried the plate and kept it in the Sri Ramakrishna's room, where he was supposed to eat. And then she went away. But Sri Ramakrishna could not eat the food because it was touched by an impure person. And here, an impure person touching him directly. He could not bear the touch. He washed his feet again and again with Ganges water. And this lady just shrank within herself. She realized what a great mistake she has done by touching him. Just unimaginable, an impure person touching him. But then he wanted to console her. Then she said, "Listen to a song." And he sang a song for Divine Mother just to console her. And then asked, "So how are you doing? What are you doing?" Then she went on to explain how she is building a bathing hut with her name written on a piece of stone. And she was happy. But Sri Ramakrishna never rejected, never said, "Why did you do that? Don't you know I'm a holy person?" No. Welcomed. He had come to lift the downtrodden, the impure. When we can see in the Bible that Jesus was mixing with the tax collectors, prostitutes, then the Pharisees say, "Why are you to tell the disciples? Why is he mixing with these people? They're evil people. Doesn't he know?" Then Jesus says, "It is the sick people who need the physician, not the healthy people. It is those who are ill, who are sick, they need the doctor's help. Those who are downtrodden, those who are impure, they need to be lifted up." There was a outcast, Resik in the Kshisha Kali temple, cleaning the toilets and everything. And he used to see people coming to Sri Ramakrishna, worshipping him, or sitting there and listening to him for long hours. He never dared to go near because he's the priest, he's all the proprietors, the temple authorities all looked up to him, and the people come from all over Calcutta coming. And who is he? He's just a scavenger. How can he dare to go? But he wanted to get his blessing. One day when Sri Ramakrishna was walking in the garden near Panchavati, he fell at his feet and asked, "What will happen to me?" And Sri Ramakrishna said, you are doing the work here. You clean the garden path so that devotees won't have any difficulty. That is a greatest service. And on your deathbed, you will have realization. And that's what literally happened. When he was dying, he had the vision of Sri Ramakrishna. He came to uplift everybody. And the greatest example we can see of Sri Ramakrishna lifting the impure, unholy person, we can say, is Girish Chandra Ghosh. I suppose all of you know the story of Girish Chandra Ghosh. He says, not boasting, but he says with a tinge of repentance that there is no sin that he had not committed. And another time he says, if all the bottles of wine that he had drunk, if you pile up, it will be taller than the highest peak of Himalayas. And then of such a sinner, if I sit somewhere 14 feet down, it will become impure, the earth. And now, with Sri Ramakrishna's touch, I have become a humble person, he says. And he says about his case is not the sinner going in search of God, but God coming in search of the sinner, seeking the sinner to redeem him. Then there are the instances of people suffering from starvation. Madhur Babu wanted to take Sri Ramakrishna on a pilgrimage. He was going to Benares. And how better way to go on a pilgrimage than with God himself, God incarnate. So Sri Ramakrishna was very happy. Their first stop was Devghar in Bihar. See, at that time, they were going by boat. So many boats. The rich person, they say there were 100 boats. And one boat just to have for the cook, one boat for cooking, one boat, so many boats for taking the food items, all these things. Arranged, all was arranged, and they were going. The first stop was in Devghar. And there Sri Ramakrishna found the people in one village. They looked so strange, so emaciated. The Santal village, that's tribal village. So what is the matter with them? So they said there was a famine going on for 2 years. They're completely starving. They don't have anything. Then he told Madhur, you must feed these people. You must give them, they were in rags. No food, no clothes, nothing. You should give them a full meal. You should give them a piece of cloth. Then Madhur protested. We are going to Benares. It's a long way. It's cost a lot of money, the pilgrimage. And this village, the whole lot of people are there. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, all right, you can go on a pilgrimage. I'm not going to come. I'll stay here. I'll stay with these people. So Madhur had to do it. He had to stay because clothes means getting the cloth for all these people. He had to get order from Calcutta and get it. But no, Sri Ramakrishna said no. His love for all of those people. It's exactly the same thing happened when he was taken by Madhur to one of his estates to collect the taxes. They are the same thing. Their crops have failed. The people were all suffering. And he said, don't take tax from them this year. Exempt them. Then Madhur said, but so many people are suffering all over the world. Ramakrishna said, this is not your property. You are just a trustee. It is Divine Mother's property, Divine Mother's money. You are using Divine Mother's money to feed Divine Mother's children. You have to do it. All this love, because he was seeing Divine Mother, the divine presence in everybody. The general idea of a holy man is unconcerned, unattached, whatever happening around. No. Jagat Mithya. The world is illusory. Brahman alone is real. The world is illusory. So why should I bother about people suffering? Or there's another more, cruel idea. It is the karma. People are suffering, it is their karma. That's also there. This is the twisted application of the teachings of Vedanta. But here is Sri Ramakrishna, quite opposite. Taking part in the suffering and sorrows of people and trying his best to alleviate them. There's one Mani Malik who lost his son. Straight from the cremation ground, he came to Sri Ramakrishna. He was heartbroken. The son cremating a child and coming. He was heartbroken. Sri Ramakrishna entered into his sorrow so deeply that a stranger would not have realized who is the father who lost the child, whether it's Sri Ramakrishna or Manimalli. And after some time, so he consoled so much. And then after a short time, his mood changed. And he sang a song calling upon people to arm themselves for the battle of life, saying, death is coming, death is approaching. Prepare yourself for death. You cannot avoid it. And that lifted the man's heart, mind to a high level. Sri Ramakrishna loved everybody without any distinction because he saw the divine presence. Divine in all. As the example of pillow, he saw the same cotton in all the pillows. Pillow case is different, but the same divine is in all. And he instilled that love for humanity in Holy Mother, in Swamiji, everybody. Because he wanted that love to continue. When Holy Mother, he told Holy Mother, you have to do a lot of work. Look at the people of Calcutta, they are crawling like worms in darkness. You have to look after them. And she did that for another 34 years after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, living. This is unheard in the spiritual history, a woman taking the lead in leading the spiritual path, leading others on the spiritual path. The same with Swami Vivekananda. After he had the experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi in Kaustubh Garden, Swamiji Narendra went to Sri Ramakrishna and said, I was so happy. I would like to remain in that state. Sri Ramakrishna scolded him. What? You're such a mean-minded, small-minded person? I thought you will be like a huge banyan tree, sheltering thousands of people, and you want here your own salvation. No, you have to have work. This experience will become so natural to you, that experience of that Advaita realization, seeing the same divine everybody, that you will be with open eyes. You don't have to meditate. With open eyes, you will be seeing this divine in everybody. And that command to be a huge banyan tree, Narendra took it up. He practiced the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna that if you wish to realize God, serve living beings as God. Shiva Jnane Jiva Sevi. See God and serve human beings. So that is why Swami Vivekananda put the motto of the Ramakrishna order, Atmano Mokshartham Jagathitaya. First, you realize the divine within, and then you will see the divine everywhere and serve humanity, seeing the divine in them. With this, when we have that outlook, when you are able to see the divine in all, then there's no difference between work or worship. Everything becomes worship because everything is only divine, only Brahman, there's nothing else. That is why Sister Nivedita wrote in the introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, if the many and the one be indeed the same reality, then it is not all modes of worship alone, but equally all modes of work, all modes of struggle, all modes of creation, which are path of realization. No distinction henceforth between the sacred and secular. No more distinction between sacred and secular. Everything is sacred. To labor is to pray. Any work it becomes worship. As I said earlier, Sri Ramakrishna called the devotees from the top of the mansion it was not just for a few disciples or devotees, that his stream of love was not for a selected few who had the privilege of coming in contact with him. It is an ongoing call. As one of his disciples told one of the young monk, you all came because of that call, not just us. As the Swami was telling the young monk. And we can say that call is ongoing. We are all responding to that call of Sri Ramakrishna. We may not be hearing very clearly, loudly, as those disciples and devotees heard. We may be hearing only faint echoes or very faintly, but still we are all here. We are all because of we are hearing, responding to that call. Listen to what Girish Chandra Ghosh had to say to someone who lamented that they didn't get an opportunity to meet Sri Ramakrishna. He says, Girish says, as Mother Ganges flowed in 100 streams in order to redeem the Sagara dynasty, so the exuberant love of Sri Ramakrishna is flowing through hundreds of devotees in order to eventually redeem the world. All we have to do is take that first step. If we take that first step, he is sure to come, take the 99 steps towards us. Let us take the first step. May Sri Ramakrishna bless us in that.
Very quick announcements. I'm standing between you and your lunch. We had the yoga class this Thursday, every Thursday from 10 to 11:15 a.m. We have the spiritual evening discussion this Friday night led by Gayatriprana. Gayatriprana's topic for her talk next Sunday is the need for a spiritual life. And just to keep reminding you, all of you, we've got a very special event coming up in May, 18th of May. We've got the Australia's Race Discrimination Commissioner coming, Giri Dhawan Shivaraman, and he's going to be talking on the theme from race discrimination to social harmony. It's a very topical, sadly. There is a lot of disharmony at the moment. Along with him, we've got other speakers, Professor Desmond Cahill. He's an emeritus professor at RMIT University in Melbourne. We've got the local state member, Jason Yatsenlai MP. He'll be coming and speaking. Councillor Sukirti Bhatta, one of the Burwood councillors, and Gayatriprana will be speaking as well. And that'll be from 2 p.m. Coming up in May. So we'll keep reminding you about that too. Hope you can attend. We have a good turnout for that. So now thank you for coming today in such numbers. We appreciate that. We'll see how much interest there is. And now you're invited to have some lunch outside. The plastic chairs, we get some help to get them back outside, help with the seating. And we're very thankful to all those who have provided the food. A lot of people have been cooking the food for the lunch. So thank you, everyone.